Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wool & Spinning. It is a Monday. It is 10 a.m. on December 4th. I hope that you are all having a wonderful start to your December. For some people, it's a holiday season. For some people, it's a break. For some people, it's other things. So whatever this time of year means to you, I hope that the show finds you really super well. I actually thought about doing Vlogmas this year, and I did it a few years ago, and I couldn't do it. I realized the limitations of my energy reserves, and Vlogmas was not in my energy reserves. However, there are many people who are doing Vlogmas, and I've been really enjoying following along because I don't actually spend a lot of time watching podcasts. I'm not a big TV person, and but I've been really enjoying them this year, and I've been finding them really inspirational. So that's been really fun. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, you're right, Eve. She says you're going to have to start announcing the year as well because this is such a long running podcast. You're right. It's 2023. Yeah, thanks, Eve. It's really good to see everybody. I know there's a few people that are here who don't normally, aren't able to normally come. So welcome to Diana. It's good to see you guys. To see you, Ellen and Sam and Eve and Rebecca. Dorothy is here, Tessa, Florence. It's so good to see you guys. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you for adjusting to the day and time change. The time is still the same, but the day is different. And it's, of course, because I have to head into work tomorrow. We've got a skills day that's mandatory, which is totally fine. But it just happened to be on a Tuesday, which was really actually kind of too bad. The photo that I showed after the intro credits, just while we were getting all the live stream stuff up and running, the photo of Burnaby Lake, that was from my walk on Saturday morning. Nora had 3 soccer games, football games, footy, on the weekend. She played like an absolute champ. She really went out there and gave it her all. She was quite tired this morning, and we made sure that we just gave her lots and lots of rest outside of her games this weekend. But man, she played like a true little champion. She got player of the game for Friday night, which was a really tough game, and the coaches were so kind to her. And yeah, and then James's game on Saturday, he played beautifully, and we had gorgeous weather. He really went out and played his heart out, and so it was just a weekend full of soccer, i.e. football, i.e. footy, wherever in the world you are from. And yeah, we were outside a lot. We were standing around a lot, and I actually bought a new winter jacket this year. I just get so cold, and for the first time standing out there in all of those games this weekend, I was not cold. Ah, amazing. So anyhow, that's sort of where we're at and what our weekend was like. And so I got a chance to walk in Burnaby Lake over the weekend while Nora was at one of her soccer practices, not a game, practice on Saturday morning. The weather was beautiful. The moon was still out, and I wanted to show you guys the photo. So yeah. It's fun. All right, I want to make some announcements about the new year. This could be quite a long show. I appreciate your patience in advance, but I've got some really fun things to share with you today. I've got a pile of stuff right here, sitting here, waiting to be talked about. So let's get into sort of just talking about some housekeeping type things. I think what we'll do actually is we'll run the intro credits first, and then Rebecca can kind of timestamp all of the housekeeping stuff, and then you guys can skip through and watch what you want to watch if you're watching this later on. So let's do the intro, and I quietened it down and I faded it and I did a bunch of stuff, so I'm hoping that it's a little less jarring. I've been trying to fix it, and sometimes it's just time, you guys, is sometimes a little bit challenging. So I hope you enjoy. I will see you on the other side. A thank you to our sponsor, Brother Drum Carter. They are dedicated to giving you the very best of carding products with a focus on quality, affordability, and customer satisfaction. They are beginning to build mill processing equipment, so please stay tuned. Be sure to check out the new products on their website and follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Brother Drum Carter. All right. Okay. Welcome, Deirdre and Nicole and Christine. You guys have popped in just as the credits were running, so it's wonderful to have you guys all here. Okay, so let's just get right into it. We've got lots of stuff up and coming, and I want to make sure that I have everything queued up and ready to go properly because, you know, life. So for December, I can't believe it is December. Is anybody else in a little bit of shock about it being December? Like, where did this year go? It has just been like this for me. Anybody else? I want to know. Rebecca and I released Woolen Spinning Radio on December 1st. We kind of did like a wrap-up episode, but we actually, I had sent her a bunch of questions ahead of time for us to kind of work through and ask, and she asked me about what it's like to live stream and what it's like sort of behind the scenes and what all of this is like. So I went off on a little bit of a tangent in the podcast about sort of what this is like and what doing this is like and kind of a little bit of perspective from the other side of the camera. And we had a really lovely conversation, but it's kind of like a wrap up, a culmination of the year, what went well, people in the community that we wanted to say thank you to, community sponsors like Brother Drum Carter, School of Sweet Georgia that we wanted to say thank you to, and also just kind of talked about the year in general. So that's on Woolen Spinning Radio. I did put the link for the show in the live chat at the beginning when I first sat down this morning. So if you're looking for it, definitely jump in and have a listen. You can find it on all of your major audio podcast providers. Google Play is going away, Google Podcasts is actually going away. So I was saying to Mike, I'm like, what? Mike is a big podcast guy. He listens to a lot of different podcasts, whereas I listen to like probably about a dozen that I'm really dedicated to and I listen to every time a new episode is out, whereas he listens to like 50 and it's sort of like if that episode speaks to him, he'll listen to it. Anyways, he uses, what is the app called again? So he's switched from Google Podcasts to Pocket Casts. And so I've been playing around with that and it's been working really well. So that's one. And of course the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Audible, all the places that you can get your audio podcasts. So definitely have a listen. Year-end reflections for Spinning Pearls for patrons of the community is available. It's coming out, I think it's this Thursday. It's queued up and ready to go. So you'll be seeing the vlog and the PDF will come out shortly after. And then in keeping with our CoreSpin along, Rebecca's been talking about corespinning, spiral plying, super coiling. What else have you been talking about, Rebecca? You're in the chat. Help me out. You've got all these things going on in the Wool Circle this month in keeping with our CoreSpin along, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And that, of course, streams on the opposite Tuesdays to the live stream. So that will be streaming next Tuesday, regular time, not Monday. It'll be back onto Tuesday, next Tuesday at 10 a.m. And we actually have a Wool Circle that's going to fall on Boxing Day on December 26th, which is it's sort of the day after Christmas here in Canada. I know some people have Boxing Day in their country and some people don't. We do in Canada. So for many, they'll be off on Boxing Day and you'll have a stream to be able to watch. So I hope that you are able to attend. Thank you to everybody who supports the show and supports the community. I always try to take a moment towards the end of the year to say an extra special thank you because I wouldn't be here doing this if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you. We've been doing this for a long time now. I started the Patreon in 2016 and we're still going strong. And if anything, we're gaining momentum, not losing it. And that really means a lot to me. Queries and Explorations, our Zoom groups that are part of the Patreon platform, is coming up on Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific, and Spinning Staples is next Wednesday, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about staples in just a moment, but that's coming up next Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific. So if you guys are curious about those two groups and you want to know more, go to patreon.com/woolenspinning, or you can just send me a direct message to kind of suss me out and find out what it's all about. And then we've got a whole bunch of grassroots movements in the community of people running the show. running the group, sorry. And I wanted to send an extra special thank you to all those people, to Lisa, Dion, Eve, Glenda, and Becca. These are all of the times of all the different groups. Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific. There's always something happening. You do not need to be a weaver to go to the weaving group. You do not need to be actively doing fiber prep to go to the fiber prep group. It's just that the overarching topics that are talked about in that hour are generally related to those topics. There is a Europe and Southern Hemisphere spin group on Thursdays at 9 a.m. GMT. And then of course there's spin group every Tuesday at 9 a.m. That's hosted by Glenda, so thank you. And then we've got Demon Copperhead coming up with Barbara Kingsolver. Our book club will be discussing the book entirety on Monday, December 18th at 12 noon Pacific. So definitely get reading, listen to it, do your thing. Eve, I see that you have written there that the time has changed for, that's right, you guys rolled it back, didn't you? You rolled it back an hour so that it wouldn't be quite so late for New Zealand. Is that correct? So it was a little bit earlier in Australia, but it was also earlier for New Zealand. Is that correct? So Thursdays at 8 a.m. GMT. And that's, of course, Britain. So all the things are happening. And then I wanted to talk really quickly about next year, because there's always like a lot of things happening behind the scenes, and it's always really fun to take a moment to just talk about next year. So, you know, we spend 11 months of the year doing the year, January to November, and then we spend December talking about what we did and what we're doing. I always find it a bit odd. So we've been doing the year of color all year for 2023. We've been really diving deep. We've done a lot. Rebecca and I talk about that in Wool and Spinning Radio this month, about how much we did. For 2024, we're actually going to be doing a 2-year study. So this is going to go over 2 years, and we're going to be looking at Sarah Anderson's book, The Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs. This is a big, big, big book. There's a lot in here. I have read this book cover to cover when I first started spinning. I'm actually reading it again just to refresh my memory, because there's pearls of wisdom throughout here. Did you catch what I did there? Spinning pearls, pearls of wisdom. And you don't have to get this book to participate, but what we're going to do is we're sort of going to use this book as a guide. We're not going to go through it page by page like we did for the 51 Yarns spin along a couple of years ago. That was very curated. There were, each page had a very specific activity to do, and then you would flip the page, and the next month you do the next activity, and then the next activity, and by the end of the book you've made your 51 yarns. This is not like that. This is a very big book with a ton of ideas and a lot of different information in there. The first part of the book is all of the fundamentals. It's all the stuff that you need for the fundamentals of getting started making really great yarn. So we're going to spend some time there for the first little while next year. So from January to about March or April, we're going to spend some time just parked in the how do we spin consistently? What are the different drafts? A little bit of a review of the breeds, just real foundational stuff. And on the Wool Circle, Rebecca's going to be taking sort of the book and looking at, her and I are working out sort of what we're going to be looking at, when we're going to be looking at it. We've got, we're taking a page out of Rebecca's book. For anybody who knows Rebecca, she's the spreadsheet queen. And so she's been spreadsheeting it up. That should be a hashtag. And we've been working out sort of where we're going to go and how we're going to do it. And we've been moving things around because 2 years is a long time, and we can flex and remain agile throughout the 2 years. However, spinning staples will be the place to dive deeper. Think of this as the place to, the Wool Circle is like, the place to come and collect all the information. Think of it as like, walking into a lecture hall and getting the lecture and getting the lesson. Spinning Staples, the group that meets on Wednesdays, twice a month for an hour, will be like the deeper work, the book study, diving deeper, doing the sampling, doing the learning as a group. So she's, think of it as like a seminar group, or like working, with the TA. you know, in university. You're going to be reading the book, parts of the book together. You're going to be discussing it in sort of a group setting together. Queries will not be doing this. Queries has been, sort of has a different focus. It'll be more focused on sort of what people are working in the moment, asking questions. So don't get this confused with queries and explorations. That's sort of a different group with a different purpose. But spinning staples will be really the deep dive place for getting into the book together. There is limited space because the Zoom groups get too big and a bit unwieldy for it to be a focused like group study. So yeah, if it's something that you're really interested in and you want to know more, you can reach out to me or Rebecca for Spinning Staples, but that's the group that's going to be really dedicated to really getting into the nitty gritty of what's discussed on the Wool Circle as well as in Spinning Pearls. So I hope that's helpful. And I hope you guys are excited about next year. I'm really looking forward to it. Diana says if I could choose one book for a desert island, the Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs would be it. I totally agree. And it's funny, Diana and I talked quite a few years ago, a number of years ago, about doing a study together and going through the book together. And I think just life got in the way and we never did anything about it. But it's always kind of stuck in the back of my mind of like, you know, this is a book that you want to really study and really get into. So yeah, spreadsheets. Rebecca says, I'm so excited. Spreadsheets, man. Yeah, it should be hashtag spreadsheet, all the things. So that's what is coming up for 2024. However, we are still in 2023 and there's still a lot going on. So for the remainder of the month, we're doing our CoreSpin along. I have been working on yarn. So we're going to pause here really quickly. Not quickly. We're going to just enjoy this space for just a moment. And we are going to talk about my CoreSpinning because I've been really enjoying it and I've been having a lot of fun. So I made this little sample and so this is, we're going into sort of the CoreSpin along. So this is going on until the end of the month. And it was just an opportunity for the community to come together and do something really fun together for the remainder of the year and just look at some fun stuff together and yeah, just have some fun. So I'll just move those out of the way. So I made this little sample. I was just showing you guys some photos of it. It's quite overspun. I just sat down at my Magicraft and I just started spinning because I wanted to see if the core yarn, which was a kid mohair silk, if it would even work for what I wanted to do. And it was overspun. I talked about this last show. You know, it's still got a lot of active twist in it. It's a little bit ropey feeling. So then what I did was I took some of the ply twist out of the kid mohair silk yarn. It's just a cheap drops yarn. I found it at the Beehive in Victoria on Vancouver Island. And I took some of the ply twist out of it. So I spun my e-spinner going right, going Z twist, just to take some of the twist out of it. And I left it on the bobbin, left it at my feet. I'll show you some video in just a moment. And then I took the fiber, which is a Dorset Columbia cross from Kingdom Fleece and Fiberworks. I don't even have to show it to you in the little camera. I can show it to you in the big camera. And this was part of the her advent calendar from several years ago. And this is 6 ounces of the sort of quote unquote flat. And then I also have 6 ounces of sparkle. So this one has sparkle in it, which is really fun. Also, obviously, same in terms of the Columbia Dorset cross. And I just, honestly, you guys, I just started spinning. I talked about this last show. I put my Magicraft onto the biggest whirl that I possibly could. So I think it's 4-to-1. And I just started core spinning, and I'll show you guys some video of it because I just honestly, I was just having so much fun. It is so simple. It is so effective. You can see on the very back there of my wheel, I've got the largest whirl going, which like I mentioned is 4-to-1. It was a little bit slow, and at some point I did put it up a little bit more, which I think goes up to 6-to-1, but I might be wrong. 7-to-1, I'm not totally sure. And I just kept drafting and wrapping the fiber and drafting and wrapping the fiber. And you can see down below there that the kid mohair silk is coming from the bobbin from when I took the twist out of it. So what's ended up happening with the finished yarn is it's just got this lovely, it hangs, it's straight. When it came off the wheel, it was twisted like this a couple of times. And, you know, spinning it like this, nice and slow, there's some slubby bits, some thicker bits, some thinner bits. You know, it's not super, super, super smooth. It's textured, and I just kept spinning. I really enjoyed it. You know, just simple, not traveling super fast. This was 2 bobbins, and I filled them both up, and then I skeined the yarn. It was just lovely. I did soak the yarn. Great question, Eve. I was going to talk about finishing in just a moment, but we can do it now while you guys watch my fingers. Basically what I did was, after I skeined the yarn, I have a skein winder that does 2-yard skeins, and so I did my 2 skeins off of the bobbin. And then what I actually did was I filled our sink sort of about halfway with quite warm water, and I put the skeins in, and I just pushed them right down, got them really saturated with water, and I just left them. And actually I forgot about them because I was so tired, I just went to bed. I completely forgot that they were in the sink. So Mike drained the sink in the morning, and then he realized there was yarn in there, so he left it, and I hung them to dry. I just, you know, sort of wound them up, you know, squished all the water out, and then I just hung them to dry. And they took a couple of days to dry, and I think it's just because it's been quite damp here and not very warm, and we don't run our furnace on super, super warm. We keep our house around 16, 17 degrees Celsius in the winter, and because you can always put on a sweater. And it did take a few days for them to dry. And actually it was the first time that I wished we had, that I had a spin dryer. I am spinning S, so I took the ply twist out of the kid mohair silk yarn. I spun it to the Z twist to the right to take out some of that ply twist. And honestly, I was feeding it on very, very quickly onto the bobbin because I knew I didn't have to take out a lot of twist. And then that got the, you know how the kid mohair silk, it often comes in those little flat balls. That I find that really hard to spin from in the first place because it's flat and it's kind of sticking together. It's nice to get it onto a bobbin anyways. So I spun it to the right Z twist. And then when I was making the yarn, as you guys know, I tend to unknit when yarn is finished in the Z twist direction. And so what I did was I spun it S to put some of that twist back in. And like I said, it's resulted in a lovely balanced yarn. And then I took the time and I knit a swatch because I really wanted to see what this would be like knit up. And it's got a lovely, lovely texture to it. It's soft, it's airy. I can't believe how light this is. And yet structurally, it's really sound. This is blowing out a little bit. It's not quite this, it's darker. You see how much darker it is up here compared to the yarn? I have to point the right way. The yarn, the camera's kind of blowing it out a little bit, but if you see, I'll put this on the big camera, it's probably better. You can see like that texture in there. And I did wash this. So this is washed and finished. And this is the cast off up here. So down here is 4mm needles or US size 6, and then 5mm US size 8. And then I actually decided based on this fabric, because the 5mm fabric is a little bit gauzy, and for an actual sweater I would do a bigger swatch of just that needle size, but I just wanted to get a sense and an idea. But it was quite gauzy. It's a little bit, just a little bit too loose. So I went down to the 4.5mm because I was like, well, maybe that would give me like the halfway mark. And the 4.5mm and the 4mm, so US size 7 and US size 6 down here, they both have the same stitch gauge, but the row gauge is a little bit looser on the 4.5mm. So, and it's, you know, it's quite a nice fabric. And you know, it's funny, when I first finished it, before I'd washed it and finished the swatch, I sort of thought, oh, I don't know if I would wear that. I'm not sure that I would wear such a textured yarn. But from a distance, it's quite lovely. It's interesting. It's not so flat looking. The little bit of brown that comes through from the Kid Mohair Silk, because it is quite a dark color that I'm using for the core, it comes through a little bit. It's quite interesting. There's that sort of grello type effect. It does make my hair look quite a bit lighter, but that's okay. I kind of like it. So I'm sort of torn. I was looking at one of the sweaters from Jillian Moreno's book, Yarnitecture. I was looking at the one in there that actually is knit with spiral ply yarn, and this would be really super effective, although my gauge is a little bit smaller. Her gauge is like 11 stitches, and this is 15 stitches on the 4.5 millimeter needle and the 4 millimeter needle. However, I also kind of thought an oversized raglan kind of boyfriend style cardigan would be kind of neat too. I thought that one would look really cool too. It would just be like very, yeah, just textured and interesting. And I also thought with the cardigan, I probably would wear it a bit more. I had one of my recertifications, so anybody who's in nursing or is a frontline worker, you'll know Advanced Cardiac Life Support, ACLS. I had to recert mine last month. And one of the girls that was in the one-day recert with me, she's one of our PACU nurses, so post-anesthetic care unit, so where you go after the operating room. And her outfit was so cute. She had on this oversized boyfriend sweater. It's all store-bought, but that's okay. It was an oversized boyfriend sweater with just a really lovely kind of slightly baggy t-shirt underneath with just really lovely black jeans. It was a really simple outfit, but the sweater was just like, it was just perfect. It was a little bit oversized. It wasn't super long. It wasn't really, really, really big. It was, I could see myself wearing it. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, I need to knit something like that. And as I was swatching this, I was like, that would be kind of perfect, because her sweater was textured. Like the yarn that was used to knit the sweater was textured. So kind of, I wouldn't need as much yardage. Anyhow, I'm just spitballing. I could go on forever. You guys know that. So that's been really, really fun. I've been really enjoying that. Rebecca says, I love that super textured sweater. Yeah, I'm assuming you're thinking about the one from the book. So I wish I had my Yarnitecture book here, but I actually have it with my library upstairs, and it's green. It's just, I'll make sure I queue up a photo for next show so that you guys can see it for those who don't own the book. Yeah, it's really great. And I love the fabric. Thank you, Crystal. She says that fabric is lovely. I really, really like it. So yeah, really cool. Very excited. Excited about all the things right now. I've actually been, this is kind of an odd thing, but I've actually been having a lot of trouble. Dion and I've been kind of supporting each other because we've jumped down this kombucha rabbit hole together. I started brewing back in the summer. Anyhow, the last couple of weeks, my stomach hasn't been very settled, and everything I eat is causing like an upset stomach. And I don't really know like what it is. I think I've had a little bit of a bug. I think I said that last show that I was sort of seemed to be fighting something. And last night I just could not eat dinner. I made my bowl, I did the thing, and I just, but because I haven't really felt like eating and I've kind of lost my appetite a little bit, I've actually been really just trying to distract myself with all this other stuff. And it's been really positive because I feel excited about some of this stuff again, and it's been a little while since I felt really excited about some of these things, and I think it's just being pulled in a lot of different directions and feeling that stress and strain of just being pulled in a lot of different directions. So Lisa says, I wear my reluctant homeschooler cardigan constantly. Okay, I'll look up that pattern. I'm not sure I know that one. I actually think this has the potential to be quite warm, Eve. She's wondering if it would be warmer than a usual yarn. There's a lot of air in this and it's very light. My only caveat is that because of the way that this knit up, it's a little tiny bit gauzy in places because of the sort of thick and thin nature of how I'm spinning the CoreSpin. So I'm not sure that this is going to be super, super, super warm. However, I do wear turtlenecks and stuff in the winter because I do get so cold. I think something like this would augment a turtleneck or an undershirt very well, and it would still be quite cozy. So yeah, I definitely think it would be cozy for sure. All right, let's go back a bit. I wanted to share a little bit about what's going on in the online spinning community because it's kind of taken everybody by storm. So let's do that next, and I'll share with you what I've been working on. So I was going to ask you guys in chat if anybody knows what I'm talking about before I actually get to it. Like, can you guess what I'm going to talk about? And I don't, but with the delay with the live stream, I'm not going to wait. But if anybody guesses it, then you're amazing. So as some of you know, Andrea Mowry organized sort of a 100, yes, Diana's got it, 100 days of spindling event, if you will. So Tazzy, who's part of our community and is sort of, I would consider her a friend of mine, she was asked Andrea if she could join in. So Andrea was talking about, like, she really wants to get better at support spindling. And so Tazzy was like, well, I'm going to join you and I'll do 100 days with you. And then Andrea was like, let's all do it. Let's just open it right up. So I wasn't going to do it. I was going to sort of put it off to the wayside. And I was sort of like, oh, that's kind of fun. That's neat that everybody's doing it. But I was looking at my support spindles, and I've been working on this project for so long, pretty much all of 2023. I've ended up with my support spindles, I've kind of ended up with a project every day, or every year. So like last year it was my Cormo spin. This year it's been these row legs. And I have one left. I have one left. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do the 100-day spindle spinning so that I will get this project done. I will work on it every day, and I will fill up the last two spindles that I have sort of earmarked for this project, and I will spin every day, my 15 minutes. And that way it's not like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to finish this entire row leg. Well, that's not really realistic. These row legs that Katrina makes, these are from Crafty Jacks from Katrina, and like they're really, really dense. There's a lot of fiber in here. On the support spindle, it drafts really beautifully and very, very fine. My plan is actually to do a cabled yarn with this spin because there is so much yarn. And she put in, it's 59% organic Polworth, 15% mulberry silk, and 26% sari silk. So every so often as you're drafting, you get this big chunk of sari silk, and I have to go back and like draft through it. However, so it's making a really super textured yarn. You can see how textured that is. But I think what's going to end up happening in the end is it's just going to make this really, really cool, beautiful yarn. And based on the sampling that I've done thus far, just little like plyback tests and stuff, there's actually one sitting here that James put a stitch marker on. I come in here and there's like all these things that have been moved, and the kids have been playing around with stuff. And so this is just a straight 2-ply plyback test, but you can see how light and airy the yarn is. Like there's just so much air in it. And then because of the sari silk, it's got all that texture. So I'm just hoping that if I can cable it or make a 4-ply yarn, 3-ply, 4-ply, that it'll lock some of that sari silk in there. There will be less surface area of each individual singles sort of exposed to the elements, if you will, exposed to the outside world. And instead it'll be kind of twisted into the yarn. And actually my cabled plyback test is upstairs. I don't know how it ended up there, but it got stuck on my clothes and then it ended up being carried upstairs. So I finished this spindle the day before yesterday, and then yesterday my 15 minutes of spinning was starting the second to last row leg and spinning on my Mirkwood. So this is one of my Mirkwood spindles. I think this is actually my favorite spindle that I own. It's a little bit heavier, but it spins for days, and it's so rock solid. It's the Toque, P-O-K, and it's got the a little bit of a metal bearing on the bottom. And then I didn't get he always has the option when you're clicking out on Mirkwood, you can get the jewel in the top of the shaft for when you're like, some people want a pointed pointed tip, and some people like more rounded, or like he has the jewel that he can inset there. I personally really like the tip, but I would like to try the one with the jewel in it. So another 15 minutes today, and I'll probably make some progress on this roll egg, and then tomorrow and the day after. It's gonna go for 100 days until March 10th, which is my brother's birthday, which is why I remember it. So wish me luck in keeping the momentum going. It's just 15 minutes a day, but what I am really hoping is that it, I feel like my support spindle spinning over the last 2 years has come like just exponentially along. And I'm just really hoping that another 100 days of really intentionally every day, that I'll continue to like, that I'll make that much more progress, if that makes sense. And I am keeping track of it on my Instagram highlights. So I'm putting it every day in my stories, day 1, day 2, day 3, etc. And then I'm putting it in my highlights. So just to keep myself accountable. So you can go back and watch that anytime, and that's what that video was of. So I'm kind of excited about it. It's really neat to, there isn't really anything in the spinning community anymore like what used to be that week of Spinzilla. Like, I know there's events and there's Spin Together and there's a few other events that go on, but it's one of those things now where it feels like every so often there's kind of like a spinning thing, like Tour de Fleece, and then there's Tour de Fleece Femme Now, which, so then Instagram gets just, you know, bombarded with all these beautiful photos of spinning. And it's kind of neat that there's sort of these like very specific events now where you've got like, you know, the spindle spinning, and then you've got, you know, the Tour de Fleece where a lot of people are using their wheels and they're spinning massive yardage, and it's just really cool. I love these events throughout the year. So, you know, we've been doing our CoreSpin along. That was the other thing I was going to mention, because I'm going to have to do this, I think, on my spindles, but I made a whole bunch of roll eggs on the weekend. I've got 10 in here, but I think I'm going to have to make at least some more. And I used just some white undyed fiber that I had in my stash, and I put little bits of blue, just teeny tiny bits of blue that I used for my color harmonies for November's teaching content for our Year of Color content. So I used that little bit of blue, and I just put in like just teeny tiny bits of it. So like this one has barely any, and then this one has a little bit more, and I put tons of that clear, really fine sparkle in. And what I'm going to do is, part of our core spinning is I'm going to core spin all of this. I need to find some white core yarn. And then I went to the dollar store and I got bells. So I'm going to have to ply, after I core spin, I'm going to have to ply on a spindle, because these bells, I don't think that they're going to fit through any of the orifices on my wheel. That's not a great orifice. I think I'm going to have to ply on one of my spindles. I think I'm going to use my Schneider Steampunk spindle, and I'm just going to play. So that's on the docket for later. Just really trying to infuse more fun, not be so serious all the time. So yeah, I've been using this spinning spoon. It's been working really well. Thank you, Eve. I don't always use it. It depends on where I'm sitting and how I'm sitting, but it's been great. Oh, Dorothy, she just spilled her coffee and lunch all over her laptop. I hope your laptop's okay. That's awful. Ugh, I hate when stuff like that happens. All right, let's move into knitting, because I want to talk about this monster behind me. Okay, so Florence for the win. She is amazing. I wish she didn't live so far away. She's in New Zealand, and if she wasn't quite so far away, I'm sure she would join lots of our Zoom groups. She used to come to book club all the time. I have been dreading working on this. So this is, let me just show you really quickly what this sweater, where this sweater came from and what it is. So this is Trinigan, Andrew Mowry pattern. I started this back in the summer, and it was to use this pink yarn. So you see here, with Andrea's version. She has that teal blue yarn, and then the spin cycle is the color contrast, the mosaically knitted part of the sweater. And I saw this and I thought, you know, that crazy pink would work really, really well with my hand spun that I've had in my stash for a super long time. It was that combo spin that I've talked about. And I just got really bogged down with this sweater. You guys know it's a lot of knitting, all of that mosaic, just, you know, slipping, and then you've got your rest rows, and I wanted to make it a little bit longer than her version. It just kind of went on and on and on. And then I still haven't fixed the cuff on here, but I am going to rip back and fix the cuff. This one is finished. It's just waiting to be cast off. So I had put out a call last show asking for a little bit of help because I didn't love how with the tubular bind off you have to make it 1x1 rib. So you do what you would normally do with 1x1 rib, but when you've got 2x2 rib, you move your stitches around and then you bind off. And I didn't love the effect. I didn't like how it kind of, you know, bells out a little bit at the end, and I had a lot of trouble with the now that I'm looking at it, it's fine because it's been a few weeks, but it's still not my favorite. So Florence said, why don't you do an invisible 2x2 ribbed sewn bind off? And I sort of thought, oh, I've never done that before. I'll look it up. Anyways, I found a great YouTube tutorial, and that's what I did last night. So I've been knitting for days, literally, on the 2x2 rib that goes around, that forms the collar. It's almost 3 inches of knitting, and it's hundreds of stitches. And last night, while Manchester City was playing in the Premier League, so Mike wanted to watch the game, I watched the entire game and a movie, and I sewed the bind off, and it worked beautifully. It's just super time consuming. But I got it done. It looks awesome, and it's stretchy, and it allows the cardigan to hang properly. And so now the collar is done. I feel like this sweater, it's funny. And then once I put it on my dress form last night to get it ready for the show today, I really like this outfit because this yarn has a lot of blue in it. So with the blue dress shirt, it actually looks really super nice, and just the pencil skirt dresses it up and blah, blah, blah. And I threw this pencil skirt on my dress form because it's way too big for me. And so it just looks nice, and she's all covered and blah, blah, blah. But it's funny because when I put it on, all I have to do is fix the ribbing on this and then rib this off. So the 2x2 invisible ribbing and sew that and get it done. And then the sweater's done. I can't believe what a huge mental relief it was. Because I think this project has kind of been hanging over me a little bit. I have 2 projects that I really want to cast on for, and I keep putting them off because of this sweater, and because I feel like if I move on to other things, I won't finish this. And I'm pretty good about being monogamous with projects, especially big ones like this, and really working on them until I'm done. And I just, you know, I really just want to get this one done. And it's fun, and it's bright, and it's kind of crazy. I'm still calling it grape jelly. That has not happened for a long time, where the camera just kind of died. I just want to make sure that it's all plugged in and that everything's charging. But that's so crazy. It Okay, can you guys hear me? I don't want to bang on the mic, but I need to check to make sure that I've got sound. You guys can hear me? Awesome. Okay, so we've gone to our backup camera because my other camera for some reason just randomly died. I have not had that problem with my cameras for a long time. So that is very, very strange. Anyhow, this has been a big, big project to kind of keep going and keep working on in the background. So I am really glad that I'm nearing the end. I actually think I could probably finish it today if I carve out a little bit of time to work on it and really just focus on getting that sewn bind off done and weaving in a lot of the ends, which are already mostly done because I did that before when I was seaming under here and under the arm. And maybe I'll have a finished object to share with you next week. So fingers crossed, because I would really like to have it done. I actually have a finished object to share with you guys. So let's pop in and do that next. And now, hang on, I need to make sure that this is in the right spot. So I'm just going to move things around a little bit because otherwise we're going to have problems for the rest of the show. And that would be no fun. And I don't want to have problems. So let's do that. So I'm going to have to make sure that my cameras are all like plugged in and working properly because yeah, I don't know what happened. This is so weird. Okay, so I finished my Total Brioche Toque. So let's see if I can put this on without completely messing up my hair. And I love this toque. So this is a pattern by Matt Ackers. I hope I'm saying your name correctly there, Matt. I hope that your last name really is Ackers or Ackers. I would like to know. Anyhow, I changed the gauge completely with this, and let me share with you, I'm going to lose you guys for just a moment. Well, maybe we won't do that. Now I'm like scared to touch anything. I'll just put a link in the show notes for those who want to see the original yarn. This toque is so squishy. It is so, I just love it. I used a 1x1 rib cast on. So I didn't just use a long tail cast on. I did the 1x1 rib so that it would set it up nicely for the knit purl of the brioche. It is so squishy and so lovely. And because I adjusted the stitch count and I changed around the stitch count, I'll just go to the side here so you guys can see. I did have some problems with the cast off, with the crown decreases. I don't love them as much as how he does it in his pattern because I adjusted mine. So mine look like that. They're not, it's not my favorite. It's kind of a bit of a spiral. It doesn't work quite as well with the brioche. I think the way he does it in his pattern, and the pattern is available on the School of Sweet Georgia. You have to be a member of the School of Sweet Georgia to get this particular pattern. But I really, really like, but I wasn't too concerned because I'm also using this pattern for an upcoming School of Sweet Georgia workshop that's going to be filmed in the spring. And I just wanted to get a sense of the pattern and to knit a couple of samples before I go ahead and design the workshop. And what I was planning on doing with this one is actually putting a pom-pom on, which I already own. I've already bought it. I had it sitting in my stash like for the last few years. And I just haven't done anything. Like I haven't sewn it on yet. I have to find it first. So if you're looking for the pattern, the Total Brioche Toque pattern is available on the School of Sweet Georgia for members. And because I knit this down so that it would be quite dense, I did this on 2.5 millimeter needles or US size 2. And so the fabric of the toque is actually quite dense. So you won't be able to see the high definition of this camera because it's my backup camera. But if you see, I haven't washed this, but if you see, it's dense. You can't see through it at all. And even though the yarn was sort of a light DK, heavy sport, knitting it on those tight needles, I have to admit halfway through I was like ready to throw the thing at the wall because it was quite dense. I maybe would knit with 3 millimeter needles or 3.25 millimeter needles if I was doing this again. So a US size 3, maybe a US size 4. But the thing is that the finished fabric of this made just such a wonderful dense fabric. So I was wearing this at the field the other day, and honestly, I was so cozy. It's cozy like my Dama hat that I made last winter. That's an Amy Christophers pattern. And I used my Black Welsh Mountain that I had gotten from Sam, and I did a woolen spinning, a wool circle episode on it. And it was just fantastic. Like it's that toque is so warm. This one is, I would say, as warm, if not even a little bit warmer. The Icelandic, the Romney Icelandic of the hand spun is just lovely. And I can wear it like this, and it's comfortable, and I don't have to worry about my bangs, because a lot of my older toques, they're meant to be pulled over so that for people who don't have bangs. And then by the time I get anywhere, my bangs are completely ruined, which I know sounds a bit vain, but the struggle is real. So, because if you style them and you do all the thing and you're going out for dinner, you don't really want to then jam a toque on over your head. So I've kind of gotten out of the habit of wearing a lot of toques, but I love toques and I hate being cold. So anyhow, this turned out really well. I'm really happy with it. And yeah, it ended up being a real win. So yes, it's going to keep my head so warm. Now I want to knit another one. And I have enough yarn left over that I actually was thinking about doing a matching cowl, just to knit through the yarn and not stash it again, because it's just such lovely yarn. And I'm very thankful to Jenny for sending that to me and for giving me the opportunity to try it. So, yeah. Lisa says it's not vain to deplore hat head. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. It ended up being a real win, that project, and I'm really glad that I finished it off. So yeah, that was definitely a win. All right. The last thing that I wanted to share with you was a little bit of an update in weaving, but I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get the other camera working on the other screen with all of the information that I was going to share with you guys. So I think what I'll do is I will save it for next week. But what I will do is give you a little bit of a sneak preview. I wove off, let me just find the right side. I wove off some summer and winter, what were going to be placemats, but they're going to actually be tea towels, and I'm going to use them for some gifts for family. So this is the first one here. And I'll talk more about these next week when I get the cameras working, because I don't know why that one camera is giving me so many issues. And then the other ones on my spring loom. So those are on my Leclerc Jack. And then these ones, these are the Confetti towels from Webb's yarn. So this is a pattern from Webb's, and it's a turned M's and O's. And it just creates this lovely diamond shape. But what it's actually doing is drawing the fabric in because of all of those floats. So on the right side, you've got the weft floats, and you can see those floating across at the diamond corners. And then on the back, you've got the opposite. You've got warp floats, and that makes kind of this like crisscross kind of a pattern. It's really neat. So I've got these hemmed. These first two, what ended up happening, sorry, I just bumped the mic. I'm sorry about that. What ended up happening with these first two, and the definition on this webcam is not good enough to be able to show you. I ended up with a threading error. Mike saw it, and it's ruined. It runs through the towels. So I wove off the second one because I was already on the second towel by then. So I've got two towels that are done. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is I am going to hem them and finish them off. I'm going to give them to my sister-in-law because she wouldn't notice anyways. And then I've got the rest of the warp. I fixed the threading error and I'm off to the races. I've already finished one. I'm on to the second one. That warp should have woven off about 11 towels because I was going to put a couple of these in my Etsy shop and to recover the cost of the variegated 8-2 cotton, because the 8-2 I had to buy from the Woolery. And because it was shipping from the States and everything, it ended up being really expensive for one cone of yarn. So I made a longer warp and to recover a little bit of the cost of that yarn. That's kind of my plan from now on, is that I'll always weave an extra thing, one or two. If it's tea towels, then 2 or 3. If it's a scarf or a stole, then just one. And I'm going to pop it into my Etsy shop. because I really love weaving, but I can't keep it all. And so if I do a little bit extra, I can always pop it into my Etsy shop. So I fixed the threading error, re-slayed on, lashed on the warp again, and I'm off to the races. So I'll have a couple of extras to throw into my Etsy shop, and I'll tell you more about the summer and winter next show, because of the definition, you want to be able to see the threads and all of the bits and pieces. So yeah, super, super fun. Lisa says very smart. Yeah, I think so. Weaving yarns are expensive too. And like, I have a lot of stash for, fiber for spinning that I'm actively working through and very inspired by. And when I toss my stash, it's really fun to look at what I've got. And I organized it all a few years ago into a spreadsheet so that I knew exactly what I had. And it's been really fun to kind of shop from my stash and work from my stash. But with weaving, it's like a whole other ball game. And I want to work towards mostly weaving with my hand spun. But in the interim, I've got other projects that I want to do because I want to learn specific structures and like weaving structures. And so in doing that, it's kind of meant that I've amassed like a yarn stash of weaving yarns. And, there's a cost to that, especially if you're going to ship stuff from the States up here, because it makes it almost prohibitive. So that's kind of my plan, is to always have like an extra few items that I can pop in there and recover a little bit of the cost. I'm not doing it for profit, but definitely to recover a little bit of the cost. Yeah. Christine says, whenever I see your lovely weaving on Instagram, I have the urge to buy an 8-shaft table loom, even though I haven't found the time to put the warp I've wound for a rag rug onto my frigid heddle. This struggle is real, isn't it, Christine? I find it really hard to carve out weaving time. And I had a little bit of time yesterday afternoon, and that's how I fixed the threading error and got one of the towels woven. But like, I still have like 9 more to weave, and I don't know when they're going to get done, but at some point they'll get done. Thank you, Deirdre. She says she loves the pattern and the color choice. So I cannot take credit for this. The pattern is for variegated yarn, and the original pattern uses a cream against the variegated yarn, and the original variegated yarn that's used in the original pattern is actually discontinued. But Mickey on Instagram, is she a thing for string? She weaves on a Louette David, and she used the dark gray. So I'm completely copycatting her. I'm always so inspired by what she does. She's a spinner, weaver, knitter as well, and dyer. And I'm always really inspired. And I had seen these several years ago when she made them, and they've been percolating in the back of my mind. So in terms of the dark gray, that was totally Mickey's influence. Yeah. Oh, totally, Christine. She can't get her 8-shaft yet because she's got a very naughty, lively puppy. Yes, puppies. Oh my goodness. I don't know. Mike's starting to talk again about getting a dog, and this is kind of what happened last time, where he like slowly talked about it over the course of a couple of years, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm ready. I don't want another puppy. That's I think where I'm like having the mental block, is I don't want a puppy again. So, all right, we'll do weaving next week. And we'll come back to that just because of the camera, so that you guys can see high definition. And we're also getting on in time. It's already been an hour. So let's go into community participation. It might take me a moment just to queue up this new camera on that other screen. So just bear with me and give me a moment. There we go. I just need to make myself smaller, and I will get rid of the other camera because it's not working. All right. You guys can see the mic there, but I don't think that's really a big deal. Yeah, Eve says get a rescue. The only problem is we've got kids, so we have to be very careful about what we bring into the house. So Yeah, I would really like a quote unquote failed assistance dog. I also wouldn't mind. So Mike really would like to get a collie next time, a border collie, and he wants to do sheep herding with the dog, and which is so funny because he it's not even like he's into any of the stuff that I do, and yet separately he's come to the wanting to do the sheep herding, like the classes and stuff. His parents brought a few rescues home over the years, when my husband and his sister were still quite young, and there are some not great stories of sort of what ended up happening and having to take the dogs back and so on and so forth. What I would really like is what we had with Charlotte, where she failed all of her breeding certifications. So she failed her hips, she failed all of her genetic stuff. She was deemed not appropriate, and so basically she was worthless. And even though she came into our house not knowing what stairs were, she didn't know how to sit. She wasn't particularly house trained because she'd been living with the dogs at the breeder's house. She ended up being a dog that like basically no one wanted, but was just a fantastic family dog. And, I think that would actually be an ideal situation just because we've still got really young kids, and Nora's quite afraid of dogs. So we need to be very careful who we bring into the house and what that would look like. So yeah, if it was just Mike and I, it'd be a totally different conversation. But yeah, it would be so funny if he became a sheep herder. I totally agree, Rebecca, and I can't really see it, but I can support it. All right. So our core spin along, you guys know all about this because you've been around for so long. This is from Crystal. Here, let me just make myself a little bit smaller so you can see everybody's names. This is from Crystal. She has been working. Hang on, I just lost my screen. Oh my word today, you guys. Oh my word. So she's been using, so this yarn I was so inspired with, hence the bells. So thank you, Crystal, for your comment about seeing the more playful side of me. It's funny, we were out on Friday afternoon. I took the kids out with a friend of mine and her kids because the kids were off school last week because they had their portfolio reviews and all of their review for the term for all of their report cards stuff. And it's quite an involved process, but it means the kids are off for a week, which drives me batty. But anyways, so we took them out on Friday afternoon, and I was being a little bit silly. And Sarah, the other mom, she's like, I love seeing this side of you, like this more playful side. And I was like, yes, I need to really embrace it a bit more. So this is from Crystal. She's using these giant snowflakes. They were 3D printed, and she was attempting to spin it in Spin Group, but then she ended up kind of abandoning it because it was a little bit too much. And they are just so effective and so much fun. And when the yarn is hanging, the snowflakes hang off of it. So cool. So well done. And it's all CoreSpin, and then she did pigtails to add to the yarn. I don't think I have the other photos. No, I just did the video. But how cool was that? This is from Elizabeth. Her first CoreSpin yarn is really fun experience. I used a coordinating mohair for the core, which helped with moments when her core traveled outward. Other core spinning revelations that she's had, she already has the tools to spin art yarns. The jumbo flyer is not just for plying. Exactly. And my favorite jumbo flyer thus far of all the ones that I've tried to date in my sort of spinning career is the Lendrum Jumbo, because Elizabeth has a Lendrum. And honestly, my Jumbo, I don't even use it for plying. I just use it for spinning textured yarns. This was a perfect way to preserve a textured bat. For me, this became about slowing down and letting go. Yes, yes, yes. In the new future, I would love to work on getting a thicker art yarn. Christine says, I love that yarn from Crystal. I think I've never considered quote unquote art yarn a form of decoration. It totally is. Yes. This is from Stacy. I like the super coils. They turned out beautifully, Stacy. Well done. And this is her first foray into core spinning as well. I love super coils. They are so cool. Crystal says, it's on my tree now. I'm making more bird's nests too. The bird's nest is so much fun. This is from Kathy. Crystal made me do it. I spun half of the braid as a smooth CoreSpin and the other half as a wild one. I think I might spiral ply the wild one to open up the fibers even more. Then maybe I'll use them both as weft in some weaving project. So much fun, Kathy. Well done. I love that wild yarn. It's crazy. It's really fun. More from Crystal, more core spun fun. This time it's a wild take on core spinning with tail spinning. I used the Wensleydale Tees Water BFL fleece for this spin. Tail spinning is a time intensive technique and it really requires your full attention. That is so true, but it's totally worth it. I wish the camera could capture the richness of the black. It's just so lustrous. The light bounces right off of it. It's just surprisingly soft. It's also surprisingly soft. Thank you, BFL. Don't you just love a beautiful cross? They are so fun to work with. Yes, I love crosses. My Total Brioche is a cross, and this CoreSpin Columbia Dorset is a cross. Crosses are awesome, and they're often overlooked. All right, Year of Color. We're coming to an end with Year of Color. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I'm happy about it or if I'm relieved or if I'm sad about it. I'm not really sure. I'm feeling all the emotions. I don't think I have to feel just one thing, but definitely feeling a bit torn. Nicole says, Dorothy, are you sure your coffee didn't get into Rachel's tech as well? Totally. It's funny. We haven't had tech issues for a long, long time, touch wood and blue. And yeah, and then today we had all the things happen. This is from Dion for Year of Color. She's playing more with her color wheel. She's blended turquoise with like an orange coral, and she's added some black and navy to make it a shade. I love that swatch. How rich is that swatch? She had to add shimmer so she used some Rainbow Fire Star. And after spinning, she wasn't in love with it, but knit up, it's striking. How often is that the case? That happens a lot, where the yarn is kind of a bit meh. I would say that that's what happened with this yarn for my Trinigan. I spun it and I was really disappointed with it at the time, and then knit up. It's been awesome. And now I want to use it actually for another one of these toques, but as the contrast color, because the original brioche toque it's 2-color brioche. I did it all as 1 color, but it's actually a 2-color. So I started thinking about maybe using that in another version. I'm brimming with creativity right now. This is from Nicole. Isn't that incredible? So colorway 3 ways. From left to right, she did a 2-ply, and it was intended to be a fractal, but she must not have weighed it correctly or stripped her second singles enough to get a fractal, because the colors in both plies, they all lined up. But how striking is that spin? It is incredible. And then the next one was a successful fractal, and she weighed the fiber more carefully and she stripped it 3 times instead of just 2 times. And then the last one was chain plied. So how incredible are those 3 yarns? I have to admit, I personally really like the first one. I think it's just really, really effective, where the colors really matched up, and you can see where they kind of blended to the next color really beautifully. Gorgeous spinning there, Nicole. Really lovely. This yarn is so ridiculously bright in real life. I could see that. And some of, like Hilltop Cloud, she gets good color on her stuff. She does neons very, very well. I could see that this would be really, really bright. In the end, she thinks she actually prefers the fractal. I want to see this knit up. I think it'll be really cool. Yeah, it's definitely Hilltop Cloud. All right, general makes and shares. We've got a lot of these this week because there was so much going on. I had to really be picky. So this is from Diane. These first couple are sort of a little bit seasonal. These little acorns have kept me busy in the mornings and the evenings. They're mostly hand spun, and mostly these little 3-yard bracelet plied ends that are ends of bobbins, mini skeins, bits and bobs. The leaves and pumpkins are from last year, and they're all Susan B. Anderson patterns and are quick and fun. I love the acorns. I just love them. So cute, right? This is from Sam. Ta-da! I finished my Advent Mittens by Kathy, is it Lewinsky, in time for this year. The colors in the cream are all hand spun. All of the colors are Hilltop 12 Days of Christmas from 2021. I have learned so much making these and have enjoyed making them. Just want to add some twinkling lights. They have small chocolate Frito bars in them and biscuits for Nick. Amazing, Sam. I love this. Such a huge amount of work. I had to include all the photos because these are all the different mittens. Isn't that amazing? So many mittens. So many mittens. Beautifully done, Sam, and well done for working on it when it isn't Christmas. We were talking about that in, I guess it was weaving group on Friday, because I always get mixed up which one it is, which Friday is which Friday. But we were talking about how difficult some of us find it working on sort of holiday stuff, Christmas stuff, when it's not the holiday season. I find it really hard to do Christmas in July. It's just not natural for me. I know some people, no problem, but I just can't do it. So yeah, amazing. This is from Kat. My first pair of gloves. She's been working on these for a little while. She's been knitting on them and she's not ever made them before, where she's actually done fingered gloves. But man, what a huge amount of work and beautiful knitting, Kat. Really well done. And look at how well it fits on her hand there. I think that's her left hand. Amazing. I have not tackled gloves in my knitting career. This is from Crystal. For as long as I've been knitting, I've never made myself a pair of mittens. So first time gloves, first time mittens. I made them for other people, but never for myself. So I decided to rectify that. I finished these on the way back from Florida over the Thanksgiving holidays. They are the Deviant Mitts by Dragon Hoard yarn. The green is spun from Shetland, from a Shetland blend, graciously gifted to me by Eve, and the pale pink is an extra fine merino that I won during Spin Together a few years ago. See, that's another one of those spinning events. I don't know if it's still going on. Does anybody know if Spin Together is still a thing? I know it was a UK thing. I just love color work, and these were a fun, quick knit. I'm sure they're really comfortable too. Yeah, I love this. I'm thinking I'll probably try to create something on my own, like a cowl or a hat. I wish there were other matching accessories, as I have a ton of yarn. Yeah, beautiful. Love the patterning. Love the colors and patterns, says Diana. Beautiful. I like how they're like matching, mismatching. They're not exactly the same. I really like that. I think one is the inside and one is the outside. Like the palm and the back of the hand, so you can see the two sides, because you could wear them either way. Beautiful. Unless the thumbs are on a specific side. I just really like them. This is from, I think it's Pauline, how you say her name, Pauline. Love the colors and the color changes. Happy Monday. Isn't that a gorgeous bobbin shot? I love that. I saw this. I was like, oh, I have to share that. And this is from Dion. Look at that complex green. And she's got that little bit of tweed in there. It's just beautiful. Maybe I didn't think this through. Chain plying 10 ounces or more is taking forever. I had to figure out a good way to stop to rest, and I'm not even at the halfway point yet. Oh, Dion, I hope your shoulder held out. Oh, good. Thank you, Pauline. My pronunciation was correct. Oh, good. One of my friends who's Dutch, he's one of my best friends from high school. He's married to a girl named Paulina, but the way she spells it has the E on the end because it's Dutch. So the E is an ah sound. So when I first met her, I was like, is it Pauline or Paulina? And she's like, no, it's Paulina, and this is why, and blah, blah, blah. And he looked at me, they've been married, they're not married, but they've been life partners for like 8 or 9 years. And he looked at me, he's like, I've never known that. I never actually knew her name was Paulina. I just always call her Polly. I was like, he didn't ask her? He's like, that's totally him, by the way. Like, totally him. He's like, I just figured if I sort of went blah, 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 that she would answer. I was like, oh my gosh. This is from Ruth. I love this sweater so much. She's done a beautiful job. Ruth mostly does like her own patterns and her own sweaters and stuff. And she kind of drafts them herself and imagines them and then knits them up. And I shared the yarn that she had spun for this a while ago. I think back in the summer, I want to say. It was that gorgeous like gray mauve merino that's now a sweater. And now she's finished the sweater itself. So it's a 3-ply sport to worsted weight. It's about 900 grams or 2,250 yards. Pattern is her own, but she always uses influences from other sweaters. So she takes elements of what she likes from other sweaters, and her sweaters are always just beautiful and beautifully made. And if she doesn't like it, she rips back and redoes it, which I think is just awesome. She certainly learned many things along the way about structure and blending different textures. It turned out a little bigger than she thought it would, but a quick turn in the dryer firmed it up, and now she wears it a lot. The highlight for me is the pockets. I love that the pockets are on the inside, and then she's also got pockets on the outside. Beautiful. Amazing. Oh, that's why I haven't heard of it for a while. Crystal, she says Spin Together is still going, but they moved it to February. That makes sense. Yeah, because I hadn't heard about it for a while, and I know it was in the fall before. So we'll have to keep our eyes out for eyes and ears out for Spin Together in February. This is from Susan. This was finished in September, but she's catching up on our post. And this is the Opa cardigan by Lisa Chemery. I actually did some test knitting for Lisa when James was a baby, and I really like her patterns. This ended up being, she spun 1,700 meters of 2-ply sport weight brown Romney over-dyed with fuchsia. And look at that color that she got. Isn't that incredible? Beautiful burgundy. The mistake was to use 1% solution instead of 0.5. Thanks, Dion. I think Dion was helping her. And I found dye on my hands when I was knitting. This is quite a substantial sweater, but luckily I have a huge canner, so we'll be able to fit it all in to some vinegar and bring it up to a simmer again after it was knit. Following Dion's suggestion of leaving it to cool in the pot, and that stopped the color transfer. It's a bit big but comfy, so I just put it on over my head rather than using the buttons. So it's funny because I actually did do the same thing with my Gentle Morning by Trin Annalie. That's the sweater that's in the intro credits that has the beautiful rib on the front. And I spun and knit that several years ago now, and I just don't use the buttons. I just pull it on as a pullover because it's a little bit too big, but the buttons and the button band are also a little bit finicky, and I wear it buttoned up anyways, more of like a pullover, and I love it. So, make it work for you. The one frog button was bought about 40 years ago, and I never found a use for it until now, and it's perfect for this sweater. It's lovely. Moral of the story, you just never know when treasures come in handy, i.e. don't throw anything away. Gorgeous. Thank you so much, you guys, for sharing all that you do and for being such a positive part of the community and for being involved in the community, for contributing so much to what we do here. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for sticking around for such a long show. I really appreciate that as well. I hope you guys have a wonderful couple of weeks. Next week, we've got the Wool Circle, like I mentioned. It'll be back on Tuesday at our regular 10 a.m. time. And I think Rebecca's doing more on corespinning and doing a whole bunch of stuff with that. So hopefully you guys will be able to tune in and learn a little bit of something. Also, don't forget to sign up for Spinning Staples if that's something that speaks to you. Though you guys will be in that group diving deeper with the Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs. Think of it as like that group will be like the book study group for our ongoing theme for the next couple of years with exploring the Spinner's Book of Yarn Designs. So definitely hop on, grab a spot before they fill up. I hope you guys have a wonderful couple of weeks. I will see you again towards the end of December, and I'm hoping that I'll have something Christmassy to show you, because I'm really hoping to get that, I don't know what I'm going to call it, my CoreSpin bells, singing of the bells yarn done. And yeah, until next time, happy spinning, happy creating, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Bye, everyone.